I still talk to from high school. I went to high school in Alabama. I have one friend I still talk to from Alabama. He still lives there. And I went to visit him 5 summers ago where he still lives in Alabama, down south. And I got there on a Friday. And all of his friends wanted to go out drinking that evening. I don't drink any alcohol, but I went out with him anyway just to be social. And around 2 in the morning, they all went to go to a Waffle House. Everybody was drunk, and in Alabama, that's where drunk people go when they're hungry at 2 in the morning. So we go to this Waffle House at 2 in the morning. I'm probably the only person in the Waffle House who wasn't drunk other than the workers. And there's a guy in the corner screaming at this waitress. There's a guy in the corner screaming at this waitress because she just brought him his food, and he has a dirty fork. And he's screaming at her, my fork's dirty, give me a clean fork, I want a clean fork. She doesn't have a clean fork for him immediately, so he walks across the Waffle House, takes my fork out right in front of me, goes back, sits down, starts eating. So I'm looking at the menu. I haven't ordered my food yet. The waitress saw what happened, and within 30 seconds she gave me a brand new fork. So I'm not too worried about it. Now my friend's friend is sitting next to me, and he gets really, really angry. He goes, that guy just took your fork. And I go, yeah, but now he has a fork, I have a fork, everybody has forks. Everything's fine. So my friend's friend is getting angrier. I said, look, I appreciate you trying to defend my honor and everything, but the guy would take my wallet. If he took my wallet, I'd have to go get my wallet back. And what he did was wrong. He shouldn't have taken my fork. But he's really drunk right now. When people are drunk, they make bad decisions, and you can't reason with them. She's over there minding his own business. He didn't take my wallet. He's really drunk, not bothering anybody. I think we should leave the guy alone. So my friend's friend is getting angrier. Finally, he goes, I'm not going to take this. He goes and starts screaming in the guy's face. He goes, he's a veteran, you can't take his fork. So I haven't drunk any alcohol, so I'm looking at everything very rationally. And first of all, the guy who took my fork is physically massive. Really large, muscular human being. And I've done martial arts for a long time. Martial arts teaches just because people are big doesn't mean they can fight, but it is something to think about. And it's a pretty dangerous situation. There's a group of 4 men at the table. They're all big men, large, physically muscular men. The guy took my fork, the guy sitting next to him has this big chain around his neck, like a Home Depot chain. So I realized there's about to be a fight. I go over there, I calm everything down, I bring my friend's friend back. The guy with the chain comes over and apologizes. He goes, I'm really sorry, my friend's drunk, doesn't know what he's doing, let me apologize by paying for your meal. Actually paid for my meal to apologize for his friend. Very nice thing for him to do. Now, the reason I tell you that story is because there was almost a mini war started just over people feeling disrespected. That's all that was about. Everybody had food. Everybody had forks. Nobody's personal property was taken. That was all about people feeling disrespected. My friend's friend was disrespected because my fork was taken. And that guy was disrespected because he was being yelled at. Now, there's a reason why martial arts teaches you to always respect everybody, including your opponent. The reason why martial arts teaches you to always respect everybody, including your opponent, is because the vast majority of human conflict comes from people just feeling disrespected. That's what causes most human conflict. Later on tonight, I want you to reflect upon your life and think about the times in your life when you most wanted to punch somebody in the face. It's probably because you felt disrespected. So martial arts teaches the best self-defense isn't punching or kicking. The best self-defense is to go through life conveying respect to everybody. If you convey respect to everybody, you not only dramatically reduce conflict in your life, but when you do have conflict, which you will eventually, you dramatically improve your ability to resolve conflict. So most human conflict is caused by people feeling disrespected. Now, this is why we admire people like Nelson Mandela, or Martin Luther King Jr., or Wangari Maathai, or Malala, or Archbishop Desmond Tutu, or Gandhi, is because they respected everybody, even their adversary, right? We admire Nelson Mandela because he respected even his prison guard. Martin Luther King Jr. even respected those who wanted to kill him. Malala even respects those who tried to kill her. Now, this is why they have so much moral authority. They get their moral authority from their ability to convey respect to all human beings, even their adversaries. Imagine if there had been a picture of Martin Luther King Jr. flipping off a bunch of white people. Think about how much less respect we would have for him. Think about how that would hurt his credibility and the credibility of his movement. Imagine if Nelson Mandela had hated his prison guards long into his prison term. Imagine if Malala said, we should kill the people who tried to kill me. Right? People admire Jesus, people admire Buddha, because they respect all human beings. Now, how do we convey respect? We have to understand that this is a very powerful source of moral authority. Gandhi and Martin Luther King Jr., they have no official authority. Gandhi isn't a general, he isn't the president, but he has this moral authority from his ability to convey respect to human beings. Now, you often hear, love your enemy, love people, which can be very hard to do. A first step is to respect all people. That's a first basic step, to respect people as a human being. Now, how do you convey respect? What does that mean to convey respect to people? We're not really taught that again growing up, at least I wasn't. So what does that mean? If you were to break that down, what does that mean? What does it mean to be respectful? What does it mean to be disrespectful? If you were to try to break it down, what does that mean? Treat them as you like to be treated, right?
Active listening.
Active listening, right? Empathy. Right. But keep in mind, even the golden rule is complicated because there's people who cut themselves, right? I used to cut myself. There's people who kill themselves. There's people who hate themselves, right? So treat others as you want to be treated. What if you hate yourself? What if you loathe yourself? What if you want to murder yourself? What if you want to kill yourself, right? What if you have despise your existence, you know? This is a very common feature of being human, right? How many of you have ever made a mistake and said to yourself, I'm such an idiot? Raise your hand if you have never done that before. Never done that before. So, there's times where I get angry and I call myself an idiot, but I would never call another person an idiot. I'll call myself that, but I wouldn't call other people that. So we have to also think about self-respect, right? We'll talk more about that later on. But this is a human phenomenon, right? Humans are the only species, as far as we know, who can hate themselves, who can say, I'm an idiot, right? We'll talk more about that later on, though. It's more complicated than that. So here's something. The first thing in terms of conveying respect is you have to understand different cultural norms, different cultures, right? So when I was in the army and I was taught, when you go to the Middle East, don't shake with your left hand, don't ask men about their wives and daughters. And our culture is very respectful to ask a man, how's your wife, how's your daughter doing? I always thought that's not respectful in that culture. And I was listening to an NPR story about an American woman, and she went to China, and she bought this Chinese official a clock. And in China, the NPR story said it's very disrespectful to buy a person a clock, because it means time is running out. And how this American woman had committed this offense without realizing it. So it's that saying, when in Rome, do as the Romans, right? To understand different cultural norms. But there are three things that every culture finds respectful. That's what I want to focus on. This, again, is part of our shared humanity. Here are three things that every culture finds respectful. Ancient Greece, ancient China, 13th century Europe, an indigenous community, 21st century Russia. Every single culture finds these three things respectful. These are the three universal elements of respect. The first element of universal respect is listening. Every culture finds listening respectful. Every culture finds not listening disrespectful. Think of it like this. Think of it like this. In all of human history, I don't think anyone has ever seriously said, I hate it when people listen to me. I can't stand it when people listen to me. Nobody ever says, me and my spouse have to go to marriage counseling. My spouse listens to me all the time. I can't take it anymore. Human beings like to be listened to. Now, the key to listening is empathy. If you don't have empathy for people, you can't really hear what they're saying. If you don't have empathy, you can hear their words, but you can't hear their fears, you can't hear their hopes, you can't hear their humanity. So the key to listening is you have to be able to combine deep empathy with concentration. You have to be able to concentrate on what they're saying without being distracted, and you have to be able to have empathy for them. The deepest form of listening is through empathy. Without empathy, you can't really hear what they're saying. You can't hear their humanity. You can't hear them on a deep level. The second thing that every culture finds respectful is speaking to people's potential, talking to people as if they have worth, not talking to people as if they are worthless. Talking to them as if they have conscience and compassion, even if they're not behaving like that at the time, trying to bring that out of them. The third universal element of respect is leading by example, not being hypocritical. Leading by example, not being hypocritical. There's a very famous story of Gandhi, where a woman came to Gandhi and she said, "Gandhi, please help me. My son won't stop eating sugar. Gandhi, please help me. My son won't stop eating sugar." Gandhi told the woman, he said, "Take your son home, bring him back to me 8 days later." So the woman took her son home, brought him back to Gandhi 8 days later, and Gandhi said, "Stop eating sugar." And the woman was very confused. She said, "Gandhi, why did you make me go through all that trouble to take my son home and bring him back 8 days later? Why didn't you just tell him 8 days ago to stop eating sugar?" And Gandhi said, "Because 8 days ago, I was still eating sugar." Right? So leading by example. What if you're working for a boss and you're late to work one day and the boss tells you to be on time? What if your boss is late to work every day? You're going to say, "Who the heck does he think he is to tell me what to do? He's always late." What if your boss gives you a lecture on being honest, and he is the most dishonest person you know? You're going to say, "Who the heck does he think he is to tell me to be honest? This guy lies all the time." But what if your boss is early to work every day? What if your boss is very honest, has good integrity? Then you interpret things very differently. What Jesus says in the Bible, Jesus talks about the hypocrite, the man who has a log in his eye and criticizes the man who has a speck in his eye. And Jesus says, first take the log out of your own eye, and then you can help your brother with the speck from his eye. And Buddhists said that emphasizing the flaws of others and ignoring our own flaws magnifies our own flaws. Now, look at one thing I want to focus on is everything I talk about applies at a personal level and also applies at an international level. Disrespect between nations, not listening between nations, talking to other nations like they're worthless, hypocrisy, right? These things apply on a personal level, they apply on a community level, they apply on a national level, they apply on an international level. So the U.S. government tells other countries you can't have a nuclear weapon. We have thousands of nuclear weapons, right? And we tell people they're great, right? We tell people they make your country safe. And we can have thousands, you can't have one. We tell other countries we can't invade anybody, we can invade whoever we want to, right? Do as I say, not as I do. This is very important to understand national security, because hypocrisy makes our country less safe. Hypocrisy endangers our country. Hypocrisy creates resentment, and we have to live up to our very noble American ideals. The world, for the most part, isn't angry at our ideals. Our ideals are magnificent. The world, for the most part, is angry that we don't live up to our ideals, right? That we say one thing and do the other thing, right? So, what percent of the American population participated in the women's rights movement? Less than 1% actively participated. What percent of the American population actively participated in the civil rights movement? Less than 1% actively participated. And we have to become part of that 1%. This is the other 1%. And it's very important today to become part of that other 1%, because the issues we're dealing with now threaten human survival. As important as civil rights and women's rights were, they didn't threaten human survival the way that nuclear weapons, war, and environmental destruction threaten human survival. So I want you to imagine two possible futures. I want to end the talk by going back to the very beginning of the talk. Think about how much progress has happened. I'm half Korean, a quarter white, and a quarter black. I grew up in Alabama. I'm living proof of that progress. If you're female, if you're gay, if you're German American, Italian American, Irish American, you're also living proof of progress. Most people are living proof of progress. If you're Catholic, if you look at how Catholics were treated in America 200 years ago. So I want you to imagine 500 years from now, and I want you to imagine two possible futures. The first possible future is that 500 years from now, people look back upon us and they say, what were people thinking back then? They look at our war making, they look at our environmental destruction, they look at our possession of nuclear weapons, and they say, what were people thinking back then in the 21st century? What were they thinking? But in a way, people in the future are proud of us because we created the change necessary for them to have a future. The second possible future is that 500 years from now, there are no humans to look back. Because humanity has gone extinct, most life on the planet has gone extinct, and the world is in ruin. So we have to wage peace to make sure that that first possible future becomes a reality.